First of all, let's start with welcoming our esteemed guests right here. We've got all our candidates for 2022 for the Township of Ashfield, Colborne, Wawanosh, in case you wondered what ACW stood for. 3 areas that have become one township now. So we have with us tonight 2 gentlemen who are competing for the position of Deputy Mayor, and then we have 8 individuals competing for 5 positions of councillorship. Sorry? Yes. Unfortunately, one of the councillors had contacted me this morning. They had signs of possible COVID in the house, so he has was very considerate in suggesting that he might not come tonight. So what we did instead was we sent him some questions. He didn't get out of it, you know. He got questions in the mail, and he has responded with some written answers, and so I will read those answers to you when the time is appropriate. So welcome to all of you on the stage, and welcome to all of you in the audience here. Tonight we do have attendance from Meneset on the Lake, but we've also got people here who from our neighboring communities, from Meneset over on the right-hand side if you're facing my way, and Ridgewood on the other side of us. So we've got a number of different individuals who are attending in our audience today. The meeting tonight is being hosted by the Meneset Homeowners Association, the board members in particular. So maybe if those people are here, as I call their name, they can stand up just in case you don't know who they are. Carl Armstrong, who's wandering in the middle of the audience right now, that's him. Pat Hall, you saw her out in the kitchen, there she is, making refreshments. Ken Engelstad, who we're very happy to have join us. He's out in the other room there waving. I don't think anyone can see him, but he's hiding. Tom Delafreniere in the middle of the room here, and he is also going to be our timekeeper tonight so that we make sure we're not going overtime with our questions. Brian McCullough, who is in the doorway right now and was out there helping with traffic. Brian Smith, who's not here tonight, and myself, Paula Brunkert, in case you don't know who I am. And of course, our president, Donna Partridge, was unable to attend tonight due to a just recent health emergency. But want to report to you all that she's doing really well. And I know, even though she's not here physically with us, I know she's with us tonight in spirit. So I humbly walk in her footsteps tonight to try and moderate this meeting. So the agenda tonight, in case you're wondering what it's going to look like, we're going to meet together for about an hour and a half to start with, in which I pose questions to the candidates on the stage. These are questions that came from you, our audience. You submitted some different questions. Now, some of your questions were very similar in nature, so you may hear me say, kind of phrase the question a little differently, because I wanted to sort of make sure that I was taking on all of the different viewpoints that came with a specific topic, so I may have rephrased the question somewhat. And for each question, I have randomly chosen 3 candidates to give us an answer. That way we're not sort of hearing, everybody sort of answering the same question. It gives us a good sort of sense of different ideas that people were interested in, and also helps our candidates to know what our audience is interested in knowing about. I also ask from the candidates that we stick to perhaps 3 minutes for question, which isn't a lot of time, but it keeps us kind of moving and we get a sense of, your viewpoint and so on. So short and sweet, to get us all having equal amounts of time to answer all of the questions that we have. Tom's going to keep us on schedule. When your 3 minutes are up, he's going to give us a signal of some sort. So we have to listen to Tom.
30 seconds before, I'll let you know by when
the axe comes down.
Yeah.
Now keep in mind, at the end of the evening, after our hour and a half, we will have a refreshment time period, so that is your opportunity to mingle with all of our candidates and each other, and to have further conversation about some of the general interests that you have, any specific questions that you need to ask the candidates afterward, okay? Now, by now, you should have received a letter in the mail from the township office providing you with your PIN number and how to cast your vote. Okay, now some of you, I have heard from some folks, they have not received that kind of information as yet. Now, the reason might be that you're not registered with the township. A few years ago, we did a sort of group effort in getting everybody registered. So if you're finding that you have not gotten information from the township at this point in terms of the vote, you might want to just check in to make sure you're registered. Now, Patty, who's up here at the front, one of our candidates, she has actually brought information. If you look on the table where they've left their brochures and so on, you'll see this little yellow piece of paper. So if you don't know how to register, she's given information right here, instructions on how to do so, okay? So that might be helpful. So pick up a little yellow slip if you didn't get any information to date. It sounds like we're sort of expected to sort of vote either by phone or online. That's the encouragement this year. Okay, so there isn't a polling station necessarily to go to. So that's a little bit different from what you're used to perhaps in the past. Okay, so as I said, in terms of tonight, I will be posing the questions. You've already submitted them to us. That saves us a little bit of time in how the evening will go. So we might as well start with those questions, but we're going to start with introductions. I'm going to ask each one of the candidates up here to give us a very brief introduction to who they are, a little bit about themselves, tell us what position you're running for, just remind us so we know the deputy mayors versus the candidates, or sorry, the councillors, and give us an idea of why you think you might be a good candidate for the position you're running for. Okay, again, 3 minutes. It's like a little race. Tell us what you can in that time period. So we'll start from, why don't we move from left to right? Start with you, Roger.
Mic test, can you hear me?
Can you see that?
Okay, thank you. My name is Roger Watt. I'm running for deputy mayor. Okay, I'm going to come down here.
Can we move that forward?
Maybe that mic, you'll take your mic, maybe.
Everything works, Roger.
Now I'm here.
That's good.
This one okay?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. My name is Roger Watt. I'm running for deputy mayor. I've been on our township council for 12 years, first as a councillor from Ashfield Ward, and then 4 years as deputy reeve, and then they changed the title, and the next 4 years was deputy mayor. I was born in Peterborough, moved to Waterloo to go to university, spent the next 39 years there managing the university's computing systems and campus network and internet stuff. I'm still involved in internet stuff. Been 40 years in national projects and provincial projects and regional projects trying to bring better connectivity to everybody. And I'm still trying to figure out why this particular area of Coburn is a dead zone. But we have Ford's promise that by 2025 everybody will have high-speed broadband internet, so it's supposed to be coming still. What else? I've been on the county health unit for 2 years, just before they amalgamated with the Perth Health Unit. I've been on the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority boards and committees for 17 years. I've served on county steering committees for water protection, sustainability, cultural plan, immigration partnerships. In terms of the major issues I think the next council is going to have to address, it's agricultural economic development. That is a project that is underway, and I believe the committee that's working on it of council has been bringing back with terms of reference for the start of the new term. There's a big housing problem as far as I'm concerned. It's a three-way problem. There are employers who can't get enough people to fill the vacancies they have or the ability to expand. There are people starting out in their careers who can't find a house they can afford to live in or a place they can afford to rent. And nobody wants to live in a place with lousy internet connectivity, and it's really a three-way problem. You can't solve one without addressing the other ones. There's the issue, I think, that's going to have to be addressed of the airport renovation and expansion. I remember last term at the start in the county planning session, a number of us were advocating for some kind of cost-sharing arrangement between Goderich and the rest of the county, because it's not fair to dump it all on them even though they own it. Nobody has worked out an environment for funding that I think is satisfactory yet, but that's a major challenge. I'll stop there. I'm probably getting close.
I don't know, I guess I'll just sit. Can you hear me? I'm sure you can. I'm Bill Vanstone, and myself and my family have lived in Colborne or ACW all our lives, so quite familiar with the territory. And once upon a time I used to deliver fuel out here when they had furnace oil into a lot of these mobile homes. So anyways, I do know the area quite well. I have served on council numerous times, and the last 8 years I've been on ACW council. Before that I was Reeve and Deputy Reeve of Colborne Township for many years, so I do know the political stance very well. Issues, I think you're going to find the issues that are going to really affect us in the future is subdivisions and roads and hospitals, because the more people we bring in, the harder it is for us to not engage the roads. And we have, to be honest with you, an elderly bunch of people, and I happen to be one of them. And we do need the hospitals more than we did before. And our hospital right now is inadequate for what we have. So if we put another, a few hundred people in here, it's going to be even more inadequate. So that's what I see as our big goals. And so we need to, if we're going to have more people coming into ACW, which we are, then we need to address some of these issues, and they will come in time. It's just a matter, it will be growing pains, and a lot of growing pains. So, and what do I see for the future? Well, I hope to do the best for the community if I'm elected, to be fair, listen to your concerns, and act on them. If you people have a problem, I'm more than happy to listen to you, take this back, and hopefully find a solution for you. So I think that pretty well wraps it up in a nutshell for what I've got. Thank you.
I'm more comfortable down there.
Can you get by?
Hi, I'm Patty Wilkins. I am 15 years in this area. It was about choice. Just like most of you, you might have selected to come here for maybe because it was a nice rural community, it was affordable, we had the lake, you came to a community, you would have, common interests, and you would be able to enjoy your time. I came here, for myself, I came here because of different reasons, because I was still wanting to work. I'm still employed and still continue to work in a business just up the road from you. So everybody makes a choice in life. Tonight we are here to also offer you some choices. So it's a kind of a fun thing tonight, but yet it's a very informative thing. So my issues with what I see for us is, okay, housing comes up, but I think we have small problems and we have big problems. Smaller problems are things like our garbage. I hear a lot of people saying things like, I would like it every week. Some people say, what do we do with our compost? Like, what can we do? So some of the solutions are easy, and also I don't have any experience in this industry. I'm the one that stands behind the chair and listens to everyone every day. So I'm used to listening to people and their concerns. And then there's bigger problems, which is communication. As far as even the vote alone, most people did not know that it was online and that it was telephone only. Maybe most people are happy with it, but there's some that aren't. So we need to take care of not just the people with the heavy populations, which is here. We have more, and this is Colborne. We're more populated than some of the other areas. We have more access to internet and such, and there is, as Roger mentioned, a telecommunication. There is a wonderful grant that's coming, and it's over $1 million, but my issue is, okay, it's coming by 2025. How can we find out more information than that? That's very vague for the people that are waiting. People have moved to the country because they can afford a house, and then they move here, and then they can't work here because they can't do their job. So then they have to be forced to move out. When we talk about housing, this is a different type of living here. And then we have, communities such as Salford, which is another type of community. I'm thinking that we also have another option, which is tiny homes. The only thing that I think that's going to be affordable for a lot of people are tiny homes. And I've got a great idea, so I hope that comes up again. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on it now, but I have a brilliant idea about what we could do with tiny homes. It would be really nice if one of the things is we will all be, most importantly, we will all be working together. And I hope that we can work with our community and we can work with each other to make things easier and make things flow for everyone that lives in ACW. Thank you very much.
Lauren?
I'm Gloria Fisher. I grew up in Welland. It was a steel city. A lot of immigrants were escaping the war in Europe back when I was a kid, and they came to Welland and worked in the steel factories. So most of my best friends were first generation Canadians. And it just seems like it's happening again, and we have this influx of people needing homes, and you'll hear about this all the time, the need for housing. And I was the oldest of 5 kids, and my parents worked in the factories. They were blue-collar workers. I went to Cambridge to study nursing, and I became a registered nurse and worked first at the old Ontario Psych Hospital here, became Blue Water Jail, but I worked there for a few years. Then I quit for 5 years, had my 2 daughters, spent about 5 years at home. Then I went back to the Goddard Hospital, and I worked there for 30 years in psychiatry. I worked in mental health all my life. The last few years I was head nurse. I do feel like I have leadership qualities. I think politics is about people, and that's what I care about, and I think that's why I like it. My daughters are married, have their own children, and their husbands all live in Huron County. I married my husband in '74, and we bought our farm where we're still living in '75, and we had cattle and cash crop, and now my son-in-law's got animals in the barn. We quit that. My husband worked, as I was working in the hospital, he was working for the road department in ACW. He's an Ontario road supervisor, and he's my kind of source for everything road and drain, and that can be very dry. And I'll look forward to the questions posed to me.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm a dairy farmer, and on Thursday it'll be 38 years that I've been married to my husband in the back row there. 2 days, Donnie. Got time to shop still. We have 3 sons, Patrick, Connor, and Tristan. They all live in ACW, as well as my 5, almost 6 grandchildren. I have 3 passions. Clearly my family. Number 2 is music. I play a lot of musical instruments, and for over 30 years I've been an accompanist for Kingsbridge Choir, as well as Marianne Hogan, if you know her. And the last one is community involvement. Now, my parents were great social innovators. They believed in social justice and be the change and make the world a better place. So when I say I've been volunteering since I was a child, I really have been in elementary school, high school, in ACW for the last 40 years, in music, arts, education, sports, youth, the church. I'm sure I'm forgetting agriculture. But for the last 10 years, my focus has been the Kingsbridge Center. I'm a director there. If you don't know what the Kingsbridge Center is, kingsbridgecenter.ca. It's a great example of a repurposed church, and it's won national awards, and we were featured on CBC Radio last year. In the last 5 years, I was invited or asked to join the Community Hubs Framework Advisory Committee group down in Toronto for the province. From 2019 to 21, I was the regional research lead for a provincial study with a whole bunch of partners like the National Trust for Canada, Ontario Trillium Foundation, the Province of Ontario, a whole list of them. And my job was to poll all of Huron County to get data to drive policy for the community groups whose churches were closing. And actually on Thursday I am heading to Prince Edward County to speak at the Spark Symposium, which is supporting rural arts, supporting performing arts in rural and remote communities. And I'm doing it as a volunteer for Kingsbridge, and the topic is Community Needs a Home. So I mention all that, not just because that tells you who I am, but because I think that the counselor's job is just an extension of that. It's a higher level of grassroots. Look after the people and change the world that surrounds you and make it a better place. I have 2 things to say. Number 1, I have a lot to say and I can't do it in 3 minutes. I have been posting on a public Facebook page, Vote Jennifer Miltenberg for ACW Council, since the end of August. I cover every topic. At the end of September, there's actually a list of, if you want to just jump to one. I think I'm very funny, but it's also informative. And number 2, I was the Asheville Ward representative for the last 2 terms. That means I've been a counselor for 8 years, and I'm really, really, really excited to be here again. I've been here before, but for the first time ever, because we are not a ward system, you can vote for me. You can also vote against me, so that's a little scary. And he's waving to me, and that's all I had to say. Vote for someone.
I'm suddenly wondering, what have I been doing for the last 20 years?
Good evening. I'm Peter McKee. Born and raised out in Ben Miller, just down the road. I'm quite familiar with this area quite well because for 14 years I worked for Goddard Chihuahua, making deliveries out this way farther north, been all over the municipality. Then 2 years ago, due to the high demand of custodians due to COVID, I changed career paths and got hired as a custodian at F. Medill for the Avalon Mainland District School Board. I have a lot of community background experience. I spent the last 5 years volunteering with the Alberta and District Lions Club, the past 9 with 4th Guard Scouts, 5 of which I was a Cub Scout leader, and 4 of which I've been a committee member due to my change in schedule. I'm running for the position as a counselor. This is the second time I'm running. I ran once before back in 2018, and I have spoke to some of you folks over this time, and the 2 main concerns that I've heard over and over again is the airport and the rezoning of some acreage nearby out here, and I am open to hear your thoughts on that and looking forward to answering any of the questions you folks may have for me this evening.
Thank you very much. I'm Anita Snowbelin, and I'm running for re-election for ACW Council. Our thanks to Paula and your organizing group for inviting us here this evening. A little bit about myself. I was originally from the Chatham-Kent area, and I spent my younger days on the family farm, and later moved into Chatham, where I raised my children and started my business. I moved here about 7 years ago when I married my husband Mike, who's at the back of the room, and currently we together farm cash crops near Port Albert. I was first elected to council 4 years ago, and I chose to run for ACW because what I saw was a progressive council. And after 4 years, I can say that your current council has continued in the spirit of progressive, positive thinking, forward thinking. We don't always agree, but we all bring value to the table. Over the last 4 years, your council has committed to ensuring that our low tax rate, which is the lowest in Huron County, doesn't compromise the infrastructure and the essential services that the township provides. Going forward, ACW will need to strike the right balance at setting the tax rate, but keep a progressive lens on the future to ensure that the increase in tax base is through growth. And finding that balance will be a challenge. You all are going to want a council that is committed to fiscal responsibility, understands the complexity of budgets, and has a progressive approach to growth and communicates with the residents. By choosing me as your councillor, you can rely on my sense of fairness, my positive and objective approach, and my commitment to fiscal responsibility while remaining approachable to the community we serve. I'm not an expert, but I listen, and I ask questions, and I ask a lot of questions, and I research, and I respond to residents. Over the last several months, I have hit every one of your doorsteps, and I've traveled to all corners of the township. My priority for the upcoming term is managed, sustainable, responsible growth. You deserve a council that will ensure that managed growth through land use development is optimized, that growth-related projects are coordinated and sustainable, and all growth is approached in a fiscally responsible manner. Most of all, you deserve a council who will base decisions on sound research and evidence with full transparency and ensure communication with all residents remains a high priority. What you can expect from me is that I understand the diverse nature of this community. I will continue to make informed decisions. I'll continue to ask questions. I'll continue to do my homework. I'll continue to ask critical questions, and I'll engage in meaningful and respectful dialogue. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Evan Hickey and I'm running for councillor for the first time. I'm a third generation farmer on Nile Road. I live on Nile Road with my wife and 4 kids. We're cash crop farmers alongside my parents, Jim and Teresa, and we also have some veal calves on the side. Full time away from the farm, I drive a milk truck full time. I go farm to farm collecting off the farms, and I deliver to the city, a lot of times to the city. In the summer months, I split my spare time working for a couple of cash croppers, Alan McGuinney and Steve Flynn, hauling grain, hay, straw, all over Ontario. Kid activities keep me busy if I'm not farming and driving. My kids are involved in Clinton Minor Ball, Blythe Minor Hockey, and Blythe Broomball. So usually every night of the week we're on the go somewhere. My 3 main concerns in the upcoming election are common services for the township. A lot of times I'm hearing around the township about the garbage pickup, about road condition in the summertime, road condition in the wintertime, tree maintenance along roads, grass cutting along roads, just your common everyday stuff that you see around the township. There seems to be a lot of concern about that as I'm speaking to people. Another issue I think is going to be coming up is the ward system. I was part of a group that took the township to tribunal last year, 2 years ago, to fight to keep the ward system. I think the ward system is important. It keeps someone local in every part of the township. We're a big township. We go from here to Amberley, across the White Church, and over to Auburn. And it just ensures someone from each area is on council to know the stuff that's going on in that area. And the third thing I think that's going to be talked about is the airport. It was just in the news last week about an airline coming in, school, headquarters for international flight. I do not support that at all. I do not support investing in the airport. I think the airport is what it is. I support Papal Aviation to use it. I support private flights, but I do not support investing any taxpayer dollar. Thank you.
My name is Curtis Blake, and I am running for position of councillor. I grew up on my family farm over at the corner of Belgrave Road and Tower Line at the edge of Ashfield. I've always had a strong passion for farming, but in high school I found my calling in the trades. Shortly after graduating, I got a job working as a general carpenter for a local company. Between taking part in both residential and agriculture construction, I got a chance to really broaden my skill set, and now years later I am running my own small construction business. Every spring and fall I still find myself back at the farm helping with planting and harvesting. 2.5 years ago, my partner Sarah and I started the adventure of building our own home over in Port Albert, and have been living there since it was completed. I feel like living in Port Albert and still having such strong ties to the rural areas of ACW truly gives me a stronger understanding of the broad range of issues our large community faces. I don't agree with the ward system being abolished. I truly believe that it makes it more difficult for councillors to fully represent the different areas. It makes it harder for me to familiarize myself with issues going on throughout the township as well when I'm running for this position. I firmly stand behind my belief that honesty and transparency in our council and municipal level government is a must. I feel like the current council and township is lacking in making sure everyone is aware of all the topics that are going through the council chambers. I also believe that communication is a key problem in our community. This day and age, we have social media, internet, email, newspaper, mail, none of which costs a substantial amount of money to use, and it's all usable that our community members can be informed better. Development and affordable housing throughout ACW is a hot topic, and for good reason. Development is obviously a key element that keeps our local economy moving, community members employed, and roofs over people's heads. But development needs to be responsible and sustainable. Our overrun local health care, overfilled local schools, and lack of infrastructure cannot support the type of development our township is pushing for in certain areas, unfortunately. As for affordable housing, and as a contractor and carpenter, I truly believe that there is still affordable housing attainable. It just needs to be done properly and sustainably. If elected, I will always be willing to listen and discuss issues with our community members. I will do my very best to make sure everyone's voice is heard, and I will seek solutions and answers for every issue that arises. And thank you all for attending tonight.
And in Wayne's absence, I will read you his introduction to himself. He said, "Sorry, I cannot be here in person this evening. Unfortunately, sickness has hit our home. I was born and raised in West Wawanosh Ward. My wife and I currently live on the home farm and still run it as a dairy crash farm. Dairy crash. If I could read. Okay, let me try that again. My wife and I currently live on the home farm and still run it as a dairy cash crop farm." I met my wife while she lived in Meneset with her parents 34 years ago. Look at that. Our 32nd wedding anniversary is this Thursday. We have 3 children, and I've had 2 full terms on council and sat on the rep board, the fire board, doctor recruitment, Lucknow Medical Center, and CHIP committee. On Sundays, I play the organ at Lucknow United Church. So he's a busy fellow. And thank you to all the candidates. You have obviously understood all or many of the hot topics, so we will be now touching in on specifics regarding some of the things that you've already kind of mentioned in your introduction, so that's fantastic. As I said, I have randomly assigned people to answer a question, and I've sort of thought of 3 people at a time to answer one question. So we'll start with Jennifer, Roger, and Bill. Okay, the question is, what will you do to ensure affordable housing in the future in ACW, and how will these help towards eliminating homelessness, as well as encourage young people to stay living in the township? So we'll start with Jennifer, Roger, and Bill.
That was multi-pronged question, so I'll try to remember them all. The most recent initiative from council is we had surplus lots in Dungannon. We sold 3, I believe, these 2 will correct me because they're on council as well. we put as a condition of sale that they be attainable, not affordable housing. So affordable is government subsidized, attainable is a number that they think a two-income family can afford, like a young couple could start with. And we also ask that they be of a green design. And that's what happened. That was our most recent initiative. Most of the initiative comes from Huron County, and those two gentlemen are vying for the spot there to speak for it. From ACW's perspective, homeless, I'm not aware of a great issue, but again, we contribute to a Huron County fund for that. And I'm sorry, I've totally forgot the last part of the question.
Just making young people stay in the township.
Ooh, that's a good one. My passion. I was a youth group leader at Kingsbridge. I started it. It started with 6 children. By 6 years later, I had an average attendance of 48 kids down at the Kingsbridge Church. 60 altogether were registered. I believe that if you get your young people active and engaged in your community, it builds sustainability. In fact, Kingsbridge has what we have developed boy, how much time do I have? It's all about young people and getting them engaged in their community. And they become, if they feel a part of something, then they want to be a part of something. And you have to intentionally mentor. You have to intentionally set up things. So you set up things that attract children and the parents come. Because everybody between 25 and 45 are really busy schlepping their kids everywhere. So if you can involve the children, then you engage the children, you engage the parents, and it all stems from that. It's an upside down pyramid as far as or maybe it's a right side up pyramid. Anyway, I got lots of great ideas for that. Look, check out my whatever. Here, Roger. Oh, sorry, Bill.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. I won't repeat a lot of what Jennifer said because I can't remember it all, but the problem that concerns me is not the fact that we can do things in little pieces, like 2 houses here, 3 houses there. It's how do we address the problem of when a developer buys up a bunch of acres and wants to build 20, 30, 40, 50 houses, how do we get that developer to include a mixture of units? I mean, the nice residential homes that people with lots of money can afford, all the way down to $200,000 or less for a starter home that somebody early in their career can get into. The province doesn't give us legislative ability to demand it of developers. And I don't think it's fair of us to demand that developers build things at a loss either. So it's going to take an interesting set of solutions. And as Patty referred to, there's things like small houses, there's things like barn dominiums, which are construction techniques built on farm buildings, but beefed up so that you can live in the darn things. There are all kinds of things that I think we need to explore. I think council, I think it's beyond council to take that on itself. I'm hoping to see some kind of economic development commission or task force for housing get formed that we can all become a part of. I know there were more aspects, but I've forgotten what they are.
Just if you want to touch on either the homeless or young people staying in the community.
Most of what I know about homeless comes from people I've heard of Huron County talking about problems in bigger areas like Goderich and Exeter and stuff like that. On the one hand, I'd like to say I don't know how much homelessness we have in the township, and I'm thankful that it's not soaping a number that I actually know what it is. But on the other hand, I feel very sorry for the people in Goderich and Exeter, etc., who are trying to deal with this.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you. Affordable housing is quite a thing, and as you can tell from my 2 previous speakers, the council has talked about this a lot. But until the Ontario government comes up with a plan for us to implement some of this stuff, we're kind of handicapped that way because we don't have the tools to do it. So that's it in a nutshell. I worked in a TPI for a little while, and they were building these small homes, and there's a fellow in Van Aster that also. But if you can't afford $300,000 for a lot, which is what they're selling for now in our area, then if you buy a cheap house, you still got no place to put it. Okay, so it is quite a credundum of things happening. So, and the other thing is, how do we keep people, like our young people in this area? We gotta have jobs. And if they don't have a good job, I don't care what the kids are doing. The parents need a work, and they need a good job. I always had discussions with one of the former mayors in Goderich, Deb Schufeld, if you want to know the truth, and he was so proud of the fact that Walmart and some of these stores were coming in there. And I said to him one day, I said, well then, how does a person raise a family on a minimum wage? Just try it. It's impossible. So, thank you very much.
Okay, that was the first question. Question number 2, and it will be addressed to Patty, Evan, and Gloria. The question is, the largest urban areas within ACW are land lease communities. So you're aware of Huron Haven, the Bluffs at Huron, and of course us here at Meneset. How familiar are you with land lease community strengths and concerns? And are you in support of increasing land lease communities in the township? So we'll start with Patty and then go to Evan and Gloria.
Sorry. Well, this is the oldest one, and I think it's a pretty good model of how well they succeed and how happy most people are living here. Huron Haven is almost kitty corner to where I live, and I've seen Huron Haven go from having its own entrance to now having to share an entrance with the largest of these suburban communities that we have. I've seen the growing pains at the Bluffs. I'm not sure there's so much growing pains here, except when the houses had to move off the lake, and it was kind of a bit of a battle between the homeowners, and then it became an environmental thing. So what happened is that became a safety issue, and those homes that were in Meneset had to move because of the issue of a big problem that we all have along the water, which is erosion. So now I watch, and I watch the Bluffs, and I hear some of their concerns. I get to experience people coming into my business from Meneset and hearing their concerns. And do I think this is a problem, having these communities? Absolutely not. In fact, I think it is a blessing to this community to have these communities. Not only is it nice for you to live here, but it's nice for us. I'm a business person. You guys create business. You create a ton of business, which is what we need. Also you create a lot, like you have a lot of activities. It's a buzz here of all different things going on, and that's what I see going on. Now you have associations. I think it's really good that you have associations. But that association needs to be able to be a liaison to what's going on in the municipality. Because these type of things, like being registered, these type of things, like a big airport, it shouldn't come down as a surprise. It should be funneled down in information so that you're not laying your head down going, how is that going to impact me? You know, I look at the airport and question whether the airport is a good thing or not. I am the only person that witnessed that plane crash that went down in Lake Huron. I'm the one that had to talk to the authorities to tell the family what I knew. I have a flying family. I love flying, but I don't know when it comes to who owns the land, who owns the airport, who has to pay for things, and we talk about taxes. How is that going to impact us? Also, we talk about more communities coming into this area, like development of Meneset. How is that going to go? Because it needs to be a low-density population if there's going to be any other type of airport here. And if we put more houses, that's increasing the density. The Bluffs, I don't want to talk about the Bluffs a lot. They have their own issues. I really wanted to go there and do one of these, but their association isn't really formed yet, so be grateful that you have one. And I'm not going to talk much more. As far as the young people come and go, I have a lot of young people, they go off to university. If they get too much education and they see too much, they meet somebody, who knows where they're going to go. What we want is young people to be happy no matter where they live.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
I think it was, how familiar am I and do I support or not? In a nutshell? Okay. How familiar? I'll be honest, I'm not. I farm, I have young kids, I got other things going on, and communities like this are not familiar to me. Do I support them? Absolutely, if they're done right. I think there's concerns in communities that set up like this. The biggest thing is development of these communities cannot trump the environment. You have to be concerned about the water, drinking water, sewage water. Erosion is a big issue along the coast here. As long as those are done right, I think these communities can work. Thank you.
Thanks, Evan.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. The largest urban areas within ACW are land lease communities. You know the three. How familiar are you with land lease community strengths and concerns, and are you in support of increasing land lease communities in ACW?
Well, I'm certainly aware of all these communities. I have friends who live in them, good friends for many years, who are happy. But I know you have your own issues, like snow removal out at the road. I know there's issues with traffic. And if these communities grow, traffic is certainly on the radar. There's a study being done at this intersection where Airport Road meets 21. We did do, there was work done on, and it's not we, it's the county. The county did work on the road going into the Bluffs because it was a problem, and it seems improved. I agree about none of it trumps the environment. But our planners are always what's the word for it? They're the people that check everything. I mean, we're not specialists and we're not engineers, but yes, the environment is. And I see these communities as largely retired people, and I think we need housing for families also. So I'm not saying I'm in favor of becoming an entirely retirement community in ACW. That's all I can think of.
Thanks, Gloria. Question number 3, and this one I did ask Wayne this question, so I should read his answer. Wayne said, I have been involved in the Bluffs development while being on council for the last 8 years. We hear some concerns. However, as council, our hands are tied because the Bluffs, as well as Meneset and Huron Haven, are all privately owned. I would be in support of increasing land lease communities as long as we are sure that the tenants are going to be treated properly and their concerns are heard and dealt with. That was his answer. So our next question will be addressed to Curtis, Roger, and Peter. The question is, what is a priority for you with respect to future land use and growth in ACW? What steps do you feel are important to build a supporting service infrastructure for growth? For example, doctors, EMT, transportation, all that sort of thing. So Curtis, then Roger, and Peter.
With regards to growing the healthcare systems and obviously other things needed along with that, such as schooling, they need to be, well, now that our rural schools are closed down, it seems as though they need to be in the more populated communities such as Goderich and whatnot, which obviously is out of our hands. And as far as land use goes, we are primarily agriculture industry and sector. We have to keep that as a forefront in our community. Generates a lot of wealth. The majority of the population is in the agriculture sector, so we have to always keep that in mind. But we do need housing. Our community is growing, as is every community, and I'd like to see us utilize some of the space away from the eroding shores of Lake Huron. We have a small town, Dungannon, Nile, Ben Miller. Obviously, we are using Sulphur already. So that's my answer to that question, I suppose.
Thank you. Roger.
Could you repeat the question?
What is a priority for you with respect to future land use and growth in ACW, and what steps do you feel are important to building a supporting service infrastructure for housing growth?
I think in general, the problem is that if we don't keep growing, if we try to stand still, what we really do is start slipping backward, and the services we have will start to erode. A prime example of that's the airport. It's in terrible shape from what I've read. So we need to find a way to keep growing, and we need to find a way to fund it. For example, the township has recently implemented a development charges bylaw, where from now on, you want to build a house, it's going to cost you an additional $8,930. Well, unfortunately, we'd have to be building 60 of those houses every year for 20 years to get enough money to pay, for example, for the infrastructure that's required to service Port Albert, that southwest section. We know how it should be done. We have yet to come up with an acceptable, at least in my mind, way of not killing the people who own the land in the process of doing it. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Well, I think, first of all, we need like education is important, upgrading hospitals or medical centers, and of course, we need more industry to come in for jobs. If we're gonna expand, we need and keep agriculture, possibly bringing in maybe some sort of environmental industry into ACW. But at the same time, you gotta work with the county for housing, work with the province for the healthcare and policing and such. But I think those are the factors to sort of create, and as long as it doesn't impact on the environment, I think would help.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Wayne was also asked that question, so let's see what Wayne said. He said, in respect to future land use and growth in ACW, I would like to see as much farmland as possible stay as farmland. We have good quality soil and production in this area. Sitting on the doctor recruitment committee for Wingham and District Hospital, I see the continuing shortage of doctors and nurses, and as a group, we continue to strive to fill these positions. It is about a 5 to 6 year wait for the training of doctors right now. Transportation is an ongoing conversation at our meetings as communities continue to grow. Traffic lights or roundabouts are discussed, and when provincial highways are going to be affected, this slows the process down as more government policies have to be dealt with. That was Wayne's answer. The next question, I will address this to Gloria, Bill, and Anita. The recent 5-year official plan review states that residential park density has a new minimum limit. That limit is 12 dwellings per gross hectare. That suggests that the new settlement that's proposed out here on Champlain Boulevard, in our immediate area here, could come to contain another 312 dwellings, which would populate it for probably 500 plus residents beyond what we already have. So the question is, what are your thoughts regarding this type of density here and elsewhere in the township?
First thing I'm wondering is how does that compare to what's here in Meneset? Because this is pretty, I would think it
Be very similar, if not a
Very
little bit tighter.
tighter than here. So that's very tight. And I don't know what to say about that yet. I know that that zoning's been changed. Nothing else has been discussed. Nothing's been brought before us, and it will have to go through council. And again, I keep saying I prefer to see homes for families. I prefer to see them produce some homes that are lower income homes, like attainable homes. I want our council, our next council, to request that of Parkbridge. They don't have to do it, but we can promote that. And we'll have to see what the plan is. I have no idea what they want to do.
Thank you. Bill?
Thank you. Well, I'll give you my thoughts because that's what they are. I don't want to see another mobile home park, okay? I'd like to see this, if it goes, a residential and good-sized lots that, because as you guys already know, they've had a lot of trouble in here with septic. You live on the lake bank, so to get the water from the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill is a big thing. And the more roofs you put, the more water off you've got to run off. So we need more land base as far as I'm concerned. And then we also have to look at the fact that, okay, they are going to use the airport more. So all these homes, are they just going to be complainers and try to shut down the airport? Or, you know, a plane's a noise. And if you're not a plane owner, then it's noise. So anyways, that's my thoughts on it. There's definitely something loose here on this thing. Anyhow, and was that it, the question?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Density here or elsewhere in the township.
Or elsewhere in the township? Well, we've got our subdivisions going on, and we've got Port Albert, which was set up as a town back in the war, and that's why we've got so much problems out there, because nothing was done right. It was piecemeal, and it's just happening. And so now this falls on this council, or really not this council, the next council, to sort that out and get it right and get the people happy if that's possible. We also have 2 subdivisions in Salford that are going. They will be larger because, of course, they're going away from plants like septic plants, and they're going to septic systems. So you need more land to accommodate them. Now, and along the lake here, as you know, there's here and Parkridge. So anyways, that's what we got. Thank you.
Thank you, and Anita.
Would you kindly repeat the question again?
Absolutely. So the recent 5-year official plan review states that residential park density has a new minimum limit, so 12 dwellings per gross hectare. That suggests that the new settlement area proposed on Champlain Boulevard in our immediate area could come to contain 312 dwellings with a population of over 500 residents. So what are your thoughts regarding this type of density, either here in this immediate area or anywhere else in the township?
In terms of density, when you look at density, you do look at what that brings in terms of taxes. What that brings in terms of taxes ensures that we have infrastructure and essential services that the township can continue to provide. However, it depends on where you're looking at it. If I think you're looking at this area that's just been rezoned adjacent to Meneset or part of Meneset, that seems like an awfully high number because of the traffic issue and some of the other issues that have been brought up, the septic and the water and so on. In other areas of the township, I think it accommodates it a little better. Probably Saltford would accommodate it much better. But I think in my past, when I've been working in my businesses, what it's been about for me has been about building relationships. And I think it's incumbent on the next council and our mayor and our staff to ensure that we establish good working relationships with our developers. And that includes Parkbridge, but it includes any developer that is building homes and developing subdivisions in our municipality of ACW. When we build good relationships, when we have open and respectful dialogue amongst those developers, that is when we can communicate our needs and our wants to the developer, i.e. attainable housing or more family-oriented, less retirement communities, those sorts of things. And I believe that we have currently the ability to do that with our staff and our council. And I would be really strongly advocating for good, solid relationship building with developers so that we can ensure that our needs and our wants are heard loud and clear. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next question will be addressed to Jennifer, Peter, and Evan. And And again, Wayne has sent his answer in for this one. The question is regarding climate change and its effect on our natural environment. From an ACW perspective, what initiative have you been involved in to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to date? And what initiatives do you hope to plan for in the upcoming tenure if you're elected?
Sorry, I have to stand. Greenhouse emissions. I'm going to go a slightly larger picture than that. It was just before 2020 when the current council initiated a study using Wayne Caldwell's students at the University of Guelph. There we go. And they were going to come in and look at what could we do about our dump and the recycling. And Gloria here is a great advocate of green stuff. As my husband and I are on our farm, but specifically in ACW, Gloria's a great advocate for it. And Gloria and I were working on swag of like ACW refillable water bottles and I'm really pitching Gloria here, but she brought forward the initiative to ban plastic bottles and things from our which council supported. Then the pandemic came and it all kind of got on hold, and Wayne Caldwell's students did come out, but they didn't go nearly as extensive, and then they got shut down. And I think that right now we're doing nothing, and we need to bring that forward back again now that that study can be done and work towards it. And again, ACW Council did ask for the last development to be done in a green way, and it was, so that's where we're at.
Perfect.
Vote for Gloria, I guess.
Way to go, Gloria. Peter.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. From an ACW perspective, what initiative have you been involved in so far to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and what initiatives do you plan that you can hope to do you hope to plan for in the upcoming tenure if you're elected?
Well, I haven't been involved in any initiatives yet because I haven't been elected, but I am very environmental when it comes to it. Would like to see better management of recycling and waste. I'd like to see I would like to look into more of the erosion issues and bring up, I know ACW currently has a program in place selling trees back to the citizens, but I've heard from a lot of citizens in ACW that it's a small number and they usually get sold out within hours, minutes. So I'd like to see if we could try to improve numbers of trees possibly to be sold. And there's so many other things that I'd like to look into and would like to speak to residents to see what they want done if elected.
Thanks, Peter. Evan.
Well, it being my first time with my name on the ballot, I haven't been involved with anything in the township per se. On our farm, we do a lot of cover crops, we do a lot of no-till, I think, which is all part of helping the environment with fossil fuel consumption down, and the cover crop part holding the soil down. So that would be my, on the farm. If I was elected, my two initiatives I would push would be the tree planting also. They increased this year to 300, whatever, 350. I think that could be increased even more with the popular or the excitement of it. They seem to be selling out quick. I think I would push that, and I'd also work with the recycling part of the township. Certain companies, certain recycling can recycle certain things. Like styrofoam is not recyclable in our township, other township is. So I would work with like waste management or whoever the future contract is with the township to try and expand the products able to be recyclable. Thank you.
Great. I'll read you Wayne's answer. As of now, council does not allow anyone to use plastic items in any township office and work shed. We promote reusable containers for staff. Also, committees have gone to virtual meetings to reduce the carbon footprint. I would continue to look for useful ways to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions in our community. I feel that I am an approachable person and would be open to hearing suggestions from anyone in our ACW community to help with greenhouse emissions. Question number 6. This one's for Patty, Curtis, and Anita. The question is, as growth happens and building continues in ACW, what are your priorities regarding the protection of green spaces, preserving wildlife environments, and protecting shorelines and wetlands? Are you okay? Patty can't wait to tell us her ideas. Go ahead, Patty.
Well, there is a lot of branches on that question too. I'm going to speak first of all about Balls Bridge. Has everybody been to Balls Bridge? Yeah, if you haven't, especially now with our colors, it'll touch you. It'll touch your heart, and it's one of our most historic places that you can go to. There is a group of over 3,000 people trying to protect Balls Bridge right now because it's under threat. That's something I don't want to just focus on, but I feel strongly that we have enough gravel pits, and I'm thankful for gravel pits, but I think where that place is located, Little Lakes Road, we should really all think about, do we want to lose that forever? It's okay to have development, it's okay to have progression, but some of our old things matter too, like us. You know, so I'm a little bit eclectic. I like new and I like old. I like to bring them both together and make it all in harmony. So then, what else can you ask me there?
What are your priorities regarding green spaces, wildlife environments, shorelines, and wetlands?
Okay, so one thing that's really come up a lot is there's a lot of people now that they pay for parking in Goderich, people go to a lot of the little places along wherever they can find a place to go down to the water. There's problems with garbage that's left behind. There's problems with people going to the washroom. One thing I wouldn't mind, when I was young, you could drive along and you didn't have to go to a Tim Hortons for a washroom. I think I could see something along the stretch of Highway 21 that could actually be a place where you could have a refilling station for your water, maybe a plug-in for your electric car, whatever. But kind of one spot that's set aside that people know it's there and they don't have that tendency to want to drop stuff, whatever. I live along 21. I really hate picking up garbage. I think people should stop. They should give a hoot and don't pollute. And then as far as like the environment, like how we could, what else, one more, give me one more.
The green spaces, the wildlife, and the shorelines and wetlands.
Okay, well the wildlife, I like both wildlife and domestic life myself. I have a lot of critters. We have a lot of coyotes, we have a lot of deer. We are approaching in areas, we even have bear, that they live in. And we need to find out a way to live within them and everyone keeps safe, their little dogs and stuff. So what would I do? I guess I don't know if we have a dog catcher, you know, something like that. Like I've had a stray coyote, or not coyote, a raccoon that was had a disease, distemper, and I didn't know where to turn. And I was living by myself, and I just think we should have, again, on the municipality, a very transparent website that if we have a problem like that, like a wild creature or, you know, things like that, we could go and find a way to get that resolved, like a skunk under our property, that kind of thing. We should find ways and help each other to make everybody feel like we can live in harmony with the animals too.
Thanks, Patty. I think we know that raccoon. Curtis.
I think the forefront on my priority list would be erosion control along the lake banks and river banks as well. There's a lot of under-maintained municipal drains and private drains going off into the lake, and there's lots of ways that we can address those issues. With excavation companies, obviously we can install stones, take care of those ravines that allow the water to dump out into the lake. So that would definitely be at the forefront. I do enjoy a lot of our tracks that we have throughout ACW. the walking trails, the green spaces. I think they can definitely be expanded and improved upon. And that's a great way for people in our community to get out and see that green space, especially living in the small villages and whatnot and communities. Yeah, I would definitely be in support of taking care of the green space we have and expanding upon them, and definitely getting on top of that erosion control as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, because it gives me the opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the development that ACW has launched and proposed. And one of those is the Port Albert Master Servicing Plan. We heard from residents about the Port Albert Master Servicing Plan that there was, I can't think of the name of the tree, but it's a beautiful tree on Ashfield Street. And if we were to go forward with, expanding that road as the plan suggested, that tree would have been in danger. But we listened to the neighbors, we listened to the residents, and the proposal is that we will go around that tree. So we are preserving that, and I wish I could think of the name of the tree. The elm tree. Thank you very much, Patty. Also in the Saltford area, there's another proposal there for our subdivision. And when we were speaking with the planners, it was important to council that we retain as much green space and a walking trail that went around that subdivision. The developers are listening to us, and I go back to building relationships between our mayor, the council members, and our staff who work with these developers and instill those ideas into them. And we have an opportunity to communicate with them, to tell them what's important to us, because we know what's important to the residents of ACW by listening to them. In terms of green space and walking trails, I'd like to also let you know about the Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan that's just recently been launched by ACW. We had an open house, I guess barbecue, kind of informal, in Port Albert. I think it was about the beginning of September or so. And we asked residents to join us and give us their ideas about what they saw was important to the environment, the walking trails, the recreation, and so on. And we listened to them, and there were some wonderful ideas. And it's my hope that when council comes back as a new term in 2023, there will be a strategic plan. And these things will be discussed in terms of walking trails, green spaces, and how we go forward with working with the developers on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Anita. We're getting near the end of our evening. I'm going to throw our one last question, and I'm going to throw this out to whoever would like to, maybe the first three people who raised their hand would like to answer this question, to keep it a time limit. Jennifer, you're first. Okay, the question here, because this is one topic I haven't heard anybody sort of, speak to as yet, so we'll see. So transportation is one of our largest greenhouse gas emitters. Now, we're in a rural, area, right? So being in such a rural community, do you think it's important for this township to consider future encouragement of electric vehicles, cycling infrastructures? Do we need more charging stations? Do we need more connecting bike lanes and paths? Jennifer, go.
Okay. 3 minutes, go. Am I on? Is that on?
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think so. Is that on? Oh, all right. Okay, I get my seconds back, okay? Sorry, what was the question? No, I'm kidding. That is a charged question, because my husband's best friend has an electrical car, and they were just having an animated discussion just yesterday about when the battery gets dead, the vehicle's not worth anymore. Should they trade it in? Should they even be going back to gas? What is the future of the batteries in the future? I was in an AMO conference in Ottawa in August and sat through a very long but interesting about the future of the batteries of electric cars. And there are great big plants going into Windsor because the battery technology has driven demand, and they have apparently discovered a much better way. So I don't know. I hear about it a lot. We did look at it How much did it cost to build a charging station? Astronomical, astronomical. It won't be coming to ACW anytime soon unless we win a lottery, which we don't buy tickets for. I don't know. So electrical cars, I hear about them all the time. I'm interested. Jury's still out, but the batteries are better, but it's not coming to ACW. It might be coming to Huron County. It'd be a question for the county councillor wannabes. And the second part of the question was?
Just the bike.
Oh, the bike lane. Oh,
Bike
heavens,
lanes
yes.
to
We've
paths.
been advocating that. Most of the roads that we're talking about, though, are county roads or the provincial highway, and we have absolutely no pull, but we have lobbied Huron County to increase the bike lanes. ACW has 487 kilometers of roads, along with 70 kilometers of unassumed along the lakefront. Over 50% of them are gravel. So we don't have a lot of shoulders to put the bike lane on, if you know what I'm saying. But most of the highly traveled roads are not our roads, but I definitely think we need more bike lanes.
Thank you. Any other takers to that question? Roger?
Thank you. I'm a fan of electric vehicles. I'm on a condo board in Waterloo where we are currently going through the process of trying to find somebody to come in and tell us how we have to rewire the building so that the owners can have rapid EV charging stations. I am absolutely against spending money on the slow ones that take 8 hours. I think that's a stupid waste of money. I don't see the day yet when the township's going to have huge snow plows driven by batteries. I do see the day when the airport is going to have short transportation stuff driven by electric airplanes for people who want to do a quick hop to Toronto to go to a baseball game or London to go shopping or something. I'm 77 years old. I'm not going to be riding a bicycle down the highway to go shopping in Godrich. I wouldn't recommend that to anybody, even for pleasure. But I firmly believe that electric vehicles are the absolute way of the future.
I think you have to think about where we live, and some things make sense and some things don't make sense. When I see people riding a bike in the winter on Highway 21, I have to ask myself, like, people need to use some common sense. And I don't think necessarily, should we have bike paths on our roads? No, but we could have bike paths in some of our trails, which people are using, and they're using them a lot. So I think that that's, like, there was a group that tried to put in the shoulder, they tried to do one from Godrich to Port Albert. They did have a fund, they were making money, they were making progress, but they had a lot of road bumps because people, there's so many obstacles when you try to do something good. You know, it seems like when you want to do something bad, it's easy, but something good is harder. So I would love to have that kind of thing, but I think we have a lot of other things to focus on, and we just got to get out and get off our seats and get out and use what we have to use now.
Thank you, and I am in favor of no mic. But anyways, we need to look at getting away and saving our planet because, as you know, Putin wants to blow it up anyways. But and I just want everybody here to know we are very blessed in this ACW. You guys are only a stone's throw from one of the nicest bike riding trails. You can go all the way to Guelph. So please use it, and it's there. Okay? Thank you.
I drive a hybrid, so it's baby steps. I haven't made it all the way to electric, but I'm heading there.
Thank you. It seems like an odd question in such a rural area to, sort of consider, but that seems to be where the future is going. So I thought it was kind of an interesting thought process there. So thank you so much. Thank you, audience, for all your questions. Thank you, candidates, for your very thoughtful answers tonight. I think we got a glimpse into, some of your ideas, some of your thoughts, some of the the sort of ways that you have of sort of knowing what's going on in different areas of our township. We've had a lot of different topics brought up tonight, and it's been wonderful to hear all of the things that you've had to say to us tonight. So thank you again for being here, sharing your time with us. Refreshments are right now ready for us, so please go ahead and enjoy some of that. I hope that some of you will stay and chat with some of our audience members here. I know they probably have a lot more sort of detailed questions to ask you. So thanks again for being here. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. So feel free, enjoy yourself, mingle, go ahead and get yourself some refreshments, and feel free to chat with our candidates.